We can start? Yes. Okay. Good morning. My name is James Yap, and I'm the Acting Director of the International Human Rights Program at the University of Toronto Faculty of Law. We're an institute that provides experiential education and advocacy opportunities for law students in the field of international human rights. We're here today with some of our students to host this press conference in partnership with Saving Okavango's Unique Life, a civil society alliance in Namibia composed of concerned citizens and Indigenous communities. We're also grateful for the support of Canadian NGO Above Ground. This morning, we filed a complaint with the Canadian Ombudsperson for Responsible Enterprise against Calgary-based oil and gas company ReconAfrica in connection with human rights abuses in Namibia. I'll now turn it over to my colleague Nabila Khan to present the complaint.
Good morning. This complaint concerns the impacts of ReconAfrica's oil exploration activities in the Okavango region of Namibia on local communities. For years, these communities have expressed outrage over ReconAfrica's flagrant disregard for the welfare of locals and the protection and sustainable use of resources in the Okavango region. This complaint asserts that ReconAfrica's oil exploration activities in Namibia have caused harm to local communities, including Indigenous communities, and have failed to protect the environment, including water resources that these communities rely on. Last November, the International Human Rights Program led a team of U of T law students on a fact-finding mission on the ground in Namibia. There, we met with affected community members in the Okavango region and visited the land surrounding ReconAfrica's drill sites. I would now like to turn it over to the students, Erica Fox and Pamela Alvarez, to briefly express or present their findings.
Good morning. The allegations brought forth in this complaint follow field interviews conducted by the International Human Rights Program in Namibia with local leaders, farmers, and Indigenous people who have occupied and cultivated the land at issue for generations. What we learned is deeply troubling. Over the course of approximately 4 years, ReconAfrica has damaged homes, devastated subsistence crops, destroyed land, and potentially contaminated the region's only source of water in pursuit of oil. Entire families are unable to feed themselves due to the loss of their crops, and a number of residents have reported getting sick after the consumption of potentially contaminated water. In one instance, ReconAfrica confiscated land from a father of 7 children to build intersecting roads that would provide access to their drill sites. This farmer used this land to grow crops and raise animals, the only source of food for his family. He also sold excess food when he needed emergency funds. Now his crop yield has decreased to a level that makes survival difficult. He also is seriously ill, but cannot afford medical treatment. This father now has to choose between feeding his family or getting the health care he needs to survive. In another instance, Paulus Kampanza, a community forest leader, reflects on ReconAfrica's destruction of the native forest while conducting seismic surveys. These forests serve as a home for Indigenous, San, and Bantu peoples, and their only source of food and herbal medicines, playing an important role in the physical and cultural survival of these communities. Mr. Kampanza spoke with a broken heart as he recalled seeing large sections of native vegetation flattened and young crops of Indigenous peoples destroyed, leaving only a pathway of seismic beacons behind.
Good morning. Furthermore, ReconAfrica has been operating in the ecologically sensitive Okavango Delta, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was imperative for the company to conduct proper environmental impact assessments with input from the community and implement environmental safeguards before commencing their operations. However, the company not only failed to do that, but went on to drill in protected conservancies and cut down plants and trees in protected forests. In one instance, ReconAfrica cleared the equivalent of 5 football fields worth of land in a conservation area. This has had devastating effects on locals who rely on the land as well as animal populations. Such actions by ReconAfrica violate a number of internationally recognized human rights, including the rights of local communities to food, water, health, and adequate housing, and the principle that where resource extraction concerns Indigenous land, companies have a duty to consult with Indigenous peoples and seek their free, prior, and informed consent.
This complaint is about ensuring that Canadian extractive companies operating abroad carry out their activities in a manner that respects international human rights law, and the importance of holding companies accountable when they don't. The Canadian Ombudsperson for Responsible Enterprise has a mandate to review complaints exactly of this nature. We are therefore urging the Corps to promptly investigate this matter and call on ReconAfrica to halt their operations until proper consultations are conducted and concerns addressed, reflected in verifiable changes to their operations and policies. Furthermore, the harms caused by ReconAfrica must be remedied. No Canadian company should feel like they can operate abroad free from responsibility to the communities around them. Redress for the harms they have caused is imperative, and the Corps must make this message clear. Finally, it is important to acknowledge that this Corps complaint follows years of impactful advocacy by Okavango residents, conservancy leaders, and civil society organizations in Namibia, including the Economic and Social Justice Trust of Namibia and Saving Okavango's Unique Life. They have been tirelessly fighting this battle against ReconAfrica to ensure the protection of their rights and the rights of generations to come. Their voices matter and their stories will be heard. We stand in solidarity with them today and will continue to fight alongside them. To that end, I would now like to turn it over to Max Moyamburuku and Thomas Moranga. Max and Thomas are community leaders, activists, and members of Saving Okavango's Unique Life, who have been at the forefront of the resistance in Namibia. Max and Thomas?
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, the conservance area in Namibia have been created to provide or preserve wildlife and protect the biodiversity, as is stipulated in the Nature Conservation Ordinance of 1975, where community are being given a right to manage the natural resources in sustainable manner and derive benefit from the resources that they are managing. The companies disregarded the concerns of the local member officials because there is a stipulated procedure that's supposed to be followed by the company before the conservance can consent or permit the company to do or to drill inside the conservancy. But the company drilled without consent from the conservancy and community forestry management body. Then they told the world another stories that they followed all the procedures and obtained permission to drill. And we have been struggling with the company since the day they arrived with their drilling equipment. And this was the first time we heard from it. It was November 2020. They did not consult the communities or the members in the conservance and community forestry. Their drilling activities started. After starting, that is the time they trying to consult the community. It was 2 meetings which was consulted. Yeah, the drilling started on the 11th of January 2021, and the consultation started on 20 and 22nd of January, which was already not procedural. And the company promised people job opportunities, but no, now there is no job for the local communities, and also promise the communities that there will be constructions of schools, hospitals, clinics, so that the communities can access to the health standard whenever they are seeking medication assistance, but it never materialized. This it is not as promised, and the company are still continuing by not following the correct procedure, and they are not having the potential or the right consent of the local people and the other line ministries so that they can start drilling. But they have doing their activities without that purpose. When we tried in other meetings to ask the company about their plans, but they mocked us. They tell us we are not educated. They tell us we are acting like we are geologists. Why we are not a geologist, and they know what they are doing. And also they are telling us they can't talk about planting apple while they are they will not tell us about eating apples while they are at the planting stage, which give us a concern because the company is not telling us the truth. When the company began drilling without receiving all these papers or getting permission that they were supposed to have on their disposal, they can't wait. And the Namibian law, it is clearly stipulated the procedure and the documents that they're supposed to have on their tables before they can do whatever activities that they intend. But the company violated the Namibian law. Yeah. In their activities, when they were busy drilling, they never lined the pit where they were putting the mud that they are getting out inside their drilling, which was supposed to be a priority to save the groundwater, which the local community depends on it. And our communities, most of farmers, they have lost their land because the company, they just came, put their machines, start clearing, start drilling, and which lead to our farmers to lose their land, and they are speechless, they are powerless, they can't fight back because these companies, they are showing clearance certificate, they are showing a license from Ministry of Mines, which give the communities a lack or no chance for them to speak or to argue with the company. And we took the company to court, but the ministry sit on our case. It is never responding to our case. It's not seen as immediately or urgent needed, but also the court, the court, they are not looking to us, and we cannot get justice. Right now, as we are speaking, the company is busy clearing access road through the forest so they can drill again or access to their potential drilling site, which they are going to start drilling in June 2024. And still, this new drilling site which they are going to drill, they never come back to communities to tell the communities where they are drilling, how many holes they are going to drill, what are the impact. They are still violating our rights, and they have never been held accountable. And we want the company to compensate peoples or communities who they harmed through their exploration activities during seismic survey, thumping, for those who have their house have been cracked, for those their crops who was stepped with the seismic tractor or thumping tractors. This damage, the damage of homes and his communities are really not happy. You will see the fruits trees have been cut off, with thinking of that the communities are obtaining fruits from the forest, are obtaining medication from those shrubs which they are disturbing, they are cleaning. We want the company really to pay for this harm, so that the harm which they is in this matter. Thank you.
Good evening. Uh, I'm Thomas. Just adding on to what Max said, the Recon Africa, when they came here, they did not inform anyone, despite the government top officials who gave them the licenses that they are using. I'm just adding on to Max by saying the license, the clearance certificate that Recon Africa acquired in Namibia, it was acquired on the 26th of August 2019, which is a holiday in Namibia. So we tried to question this, but we are not getting really answers to this. And then, since Recon is also drilling in a communal conservancies and then communal land, they are required to have water drilling permits. So, which they didn't have. And there was also an investigation that was constituted after we presented like our protest to the Parliamentarian Standing Committee on the on natural resources. There was findings that Recon Africa did not have permit to drill boreholes, permit even to allow them to occupy land inside conservancies and in community forestry. We are guided by the Communal Land Act that says if a person is occupying a land for a certain period of time and doing any business, that person is required to obtain a leasehold. I'm speaking as a former chairperson. They did not acquire any paper to allow them to do the drilling. So I went to the site on the 3rd of February 2021, wanted to get clarity as a chairperson of the conservancy to find out what is going on, how did they acquire it. I was refused, and then they intimidated me by calling the police so that they can chase me out from the site. So Recon Africa really did not follow the laws of our country. We are thinking that there is something that they did to our government to accept them to do the exploration and then clearing inside conservancies and community forestry. Right as we speak, there is a management plan in place for the conservancy that does not include oil exploration. Legally, they were not supposed to do their activity in the conservancy without getting a permission from the management committee. So the other thing is Recon Africa is using a radio that is a national broadcast for the country to advertise their business activities, whereby us local community are denied the right to use that platform. We are experiencing a lot of intimidation from their activities and the way they are responding to us. So I would like to request that if there is a way that Recon Africa can be held responsible to make sure that the damage that was done to our environment is compensated, the land that was lost by our community is compensated. Properties that were damaged due to their thumpings must be compensated. And then crop fields that were damaged by ReconAfrica should be compensated. And we have a feeling like ReconAfrica must just leave this country and leave us to live the way we lived before. I thank you very much.
We will now ask questions on Zoom. If you have any question, please use the raise hand function. Right. This concludes our press conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Stay up, stay there, stay there, stay there. Do you mind if we just take a couple photos? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take them. Oh, perfect.